Former flat earthers. What made you come round? The Mobius strip earthers had more compelling arguments. No, there would be no need for arguments since we're all on the same side. Tell me more. Quote I got from somewhere. For 5 years I believed the earth was flat, then I turned 6. Eli 5. This reminds me of something George Carlin once said. I was a Catholic, until I reached the age of reason. I watched a documentary about flat earthers called Truth Behind the Curve, and my analysis from watching that these flat earthers are a group of people who found a community to be a part of. It's a shame their community is based on a lie, but I saw a bunch of people who were to be part of a community. Most of the people were social awkward and whatnot, and so an opportunity to be an influential figure within the community, so they doubled down on their flawed logic. The more against you are of them, the harder they rep their flatness. TLDR, I see flat earthers as a group of lonely people looking for a community that will accept them. Edit, WTF, did not expect this comment to blow up. Thanks for the silver, and the dialogue everyone. They actually did an experiment, and that if they got one result, the earth was flat, if they got the other, it was round. Experiment showed that the earth is, drumroll, round. They claimed it was human error that caused the wrong result. If that's the Netflix one, I think it's actually really good. Instead of just being like, look at these dumbies. It really does take the time to build these otherwise hair-brained outsiders into empathetic characters, who just seem lost in a maze of their own making. You want them to be free. You want them to live a normal, healthy life. But, I just can't imagine the strength it takes to mentally deprogram from that disorganized cult. I convinced a flat earther, temporarily, by asking him if it was possible for a sphere to be so large that you could not tell it was a sphere by simply being on the surface of it. It took him a while. I used an analogy of an extremely long line that was so slightly curved you could not tell so by looking at a small section of it. Eventually he said yes to the sphere, and I told him that was how big the Earth is. A few days later he reverted. Most of these people aren't mentally stable, they believe in a lot of conspiracies. Edit, corny edit, but as connoisseur of flat earth content, my personal favorite is Professor Dave on YouTube. He is an underappreciated dude who just had a science channel on YouTube and got brigaded by flat earthers for an unrelated video. He made like 6 video responses in total just owning these guys, but they eventually gave up. Check it out. What I like to do is use telescopes. This telescope is strong enough to see distant stars and galaxies. Yes. Okay, look at this direction across the ocean. Can you see Europe? Edit, RIP my inbox lol. Most of these people aren't mentally stable, they believe in a lot of conspiracies. A lot of them have made it such a large part of their personality that it's not as easy as just changing their opinion. They have to basically reconstruct themselves, which they won't do. Look, it's really easy. If the Earth is flat, there would be an edges. And there would be a fucking Disney park at the edge. And we could bungee jump off the side and paraglide into the void, etc, etc. Someone would be making an absolute shit ton of money off of it, if it existed. Guess what? Nobody is doing that, and in this world where absolutely everything is exploited for profit, if no one is making money off of it, it does not exist. No edge. Not flat. Get a clue? Let's not forget it'd be the cleanest and success guaranteed suicide. I mean, depending what's down there. Unless it's an endless void and all you do is keep falling until you starve. You know what, never mind. If no one is making money off of it, it does not exist. I am definitely gonna steal that one. No more stupid debates, this is the answer. I was debating a flat earther in Mexico, and I asked him about how GPS worked if there were no satellites. He said that they had devices in the ground to route you. I told him the Mexican government is barely able to put decent water pipes in the ground. Would he really think they had the tech to put routing devices in the ground? He chuckled with a 1,000-mile gaze. I mean, with all the money go to routing devices in the ground, no wonder there is no money left. If they're in the ground, let's go dig one up then. A serious answer here. The thing that made me stop was just the question, why would NASA lie to you? This a solid point. There's no way 70,000 scientists could keep it a secret. Edit, since this is getting tons of replies and a lot are addressing the Manhattan Project, I'll address it here. Yes, they did a great job at keeping it a secret while it was happening, but it inevitably came out. My point is addressing that this secret would be impossible to continue to stay secret, especially during the current information age. I mean, fair enough, right? Like they don't have anything to gain or lose no matter if the Earth is flat, not saying it is, or round LMFAO. The inclined seat conformed perfectly to his body, strategically placed in the cockpit so he could reach no buttons with outstretched arms. The straps anchored him firmly in place. They were uncomfortable but necessary. The engine burst to life with a roar that burned out all the other audio. The vibrations tore through his body and he felt his body sink back into the seat as the G-force began to take hold. The captain was watching the readouts on the LED displays and monitoring their trajectory as the acceleration began to peel his thoughts away. There was no more room in his brain. It had been filled by pure fear. The boosters grew with greater ferocity as they lifted higher into the sky, the sun beaming down on the left side of the shuttle. But faster they went. Through Max Q and higher into the stratosphere until the engines grew quieter, the air more silent, and the vibrations became less violent. They were approaching space, the final frontier. An hour later, and with the path of the shuttle a success, he noticed as his raw emotions withdrew that his body felt funny. Hair drifted aimlessly across his eyes as the captain's pen hovered in midair, and he knew the impossible was true. His childhood dream, he was in space. Weightless. The captain turned around to him, and motioned him to unhook his seatbelts. He did as he was commanded. They both left their chairs and glided over to the tiny glass windows to overlook the magnificence of Earth. "What do you think now?" said the captain. He recoiled in horror. It couldn't be. NASA had replaced the windows with high-definition screens in order to perpetrate their lies that the world was spherical. Those bastards. On Behind the Curve on Netflix, two of the flat earthers accused the moon of being a giant TV screen controlled by NASA. You aren't too far off. This reminds me of Kurt Vonnegut writing, "Great job, eh? Had to travel to Japan, gave up on my beliefs in order to make a shorter trip." I said the same thing on another post. However, someone more familiar with the conspiracy said they believe the Earth is actually a circle with the North Pole in the middle with the South Pole, or Antarctica encircling us. For me it just brought up more questions. Please elaborate. Not a flat earther. But I was a 9 to 11 truther, I guess you could say, insofar as I thought it was an inside job. I was heavily influenced and believed in multiple conspiracies in the Zeitgeist film as well. There was a never-ending source of dark, shadowy theys and thems controlling everything behind the scenes. I think there were a few factors that helped me escape that, losing my father. It was such a life-changing event at that age that it made me reconsider everything in my life. Some light training in evaluating information. I learned about how to vet sources, primary, whether something was actually news or just an opinion/editorial, etc. Ironically, this education came before I was duped. After my dad died, suddenly this started to kick in more. Lack of time/means to dig myself a deeper hole. I started college shortly after my father passed, and that plus a full-time job took up all my time. I had none to buy further into the newest crazy bullshit. I had no Facebook/Twitter/X/etc. No smartphone or texting. My primary use of Reddit once I discovered it was for r/Naruto, r/Bleach, Rage Comics, and Advice Animals. So all in all, I think the time away gave me time to detox. If I had been on social media as I discovered those things, I can only imagine I very well may have become a Q believer as well. Looking back, I see how gullible I was in that moment, fooled by the onslaught of half-truths and clever logic of the various theories. I know better now, and I should have known better then, but I've been humbled to the fact that everyone is vulnerable to this sort of stuff. To think otherwise is deluding yourself. This is a really solid base for anyone diving into the various conspiracy rabbit holes. Good writing. And sorry about your bops. Congrats. I spent a brief period as a 911 truther, which is bizarre considering I saw it happening live on TV. I watched 1 or 2 conspiracy videos online when they were newish. They asked questions that couldn't be answered, raised doubts, highlighted coincidences, etc. Basically, I became convinced a missile hit the Pentagon, and that was my belief. I wasn't obsessive over it, just a background belief. Then I came across a discussion online, a debate about 9/11, and one poster was pointing out there was wreckage of the plane all over the Pentagon grounds, and I was like, nope, relating to something in one of the videos. However, within seconds of looking online I found the photos of the wreckage, and just about everything else. To cut a long story short, the online documentaries, 911 conspiracy videos, I had previously watched were in fact very carefully crafted pieces of propaganda designed to make the viewer cast doubt on the event by highlighting very specific and selective pieces of information, out of context, distorted or just flat out untrue in order to hint that some vague conspiracy took place without ever specifying that conspiracy. Now I'm very much a skeptic. The dead giveaway to these type of conspiracy videos is that they never actually detail the conspiracy itself, from the ground up. They never provide a coherent timeline, never provide direct evidence of the conspiracy itself. It's all indirect. Look at this discrepancy, look at this coincidence, look at this oddity, can't explain that, therefore conspiracy. Same with Boston bombing conspiracies, Sandy Hook, all that. Identical process involved each time. I actually, masochistically, spend some time debunking conspiracies online every now and then. It's largely a futile exercise, but the most simple approach is just to ask someone to detail the conspiracy with credible evidence. They almost all instantly fall apart. To this day no one has ever provided a coherent 9/11 theory, not even the guys at A911 who make money from this stuff. It's a bizarre hobby to say the least. Subscribe for more hot Reddit takes in your inbox, guaranteed.